Hello, Harrisburg. We are here to tell you about some exciting news that's coming up, as if you are not already prepared for all the great news we've been telling you over the last year about the city of Harrisburg, its solvency, its recovery, its strong plan, and its future. Well, this conversation we're going to have with you today is all about Harrisburg's now and Harrisburg's tomorrow. I'm excited to present this exciting news to you because it's all about how do we plan strategically to move our city forward, to attract new young professionals in the city, to attract new businesses into the city, and ultimately how do we prosper from all of that excitement. All of those strategies and steps we take to grow and prosper a city so that all the residents, all the visitors, all the tourists, all the businessmen, all benefit from all of our collective thinking and all of our collective ideas. Today, we're going to introduce you to two great men that I met when I became the mayor. They have been strategists for the city for quite some time, working on our housing strategy plan. Well, I wanted to go beyond that, and in 2010, I formed a business advisory council to come up with a broader plan that involves economic growth, economic development, job creation, job retention, and business expansion. And so finally, we have arrived at this point in hiring these consultants. Their name is Bill Walalowski and also Lee Muller. And they're with the firm called Mullen and Lonergan. And they're here to help us bring all of the bright minds throughout the city, from the business people to the nonprofit to the average citizen, to a roundtable discussion coming up in our very own John Harris, Harrisburg High School. For you to get involved, many of you have been very actively involved in our city and helping it grow and prosper. And some of you have sat on the sideline, but yet you complain that you're not involved with the think tanks, you're not involved with growing the city, you're not involved with making decisions. Here's your great opportunity to change the way we do business in the city, about how we plan and how we involve you, how we include you. So this morning you're going to hear us talk about the comprehensive plan that is focused on the best land use, how to use our land more effectively, how to get high and best use out of it. Also, you're going to hear them talking about economic development, the growth of it, the retention of it, the expansion of it. And you're also going to hear us talk about the housing strategy. How do we grow and expand on all that we've done in terms of creating affordable and decent housing all throughout the city, downtown, and also in our disinvested neighborhoods. I'm excited about this great opportunity for you to be involved with. So let's go ahead and meet these great guys I talked to you about. Good morning, Bill, and good morning, Lee.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning, Mayor. How are you?
Yes. So what are you tasked to do? We've already begun the groundwork. We have a skeleton sketch. We've been having town hall meetings with all of our stakeholders that are involved, from elected officials, local, regional, and state officials, from businessmen, both private and public nonprofit organizations, businesses. Talk about this arduous task you have before you and all the groundwork we've been able to lay thus far. And really, ultimately, it is about passing the baton on to the next mayor and making sure they have a blueprint in which to operate from and to build on.
You're absolutely right, Mayor. As you know, we've been working very closely with you, your staff, your business advisory committee, and ultimately the steering committee that you've appointed to guide this process. And we've been working since the beginning of the year to come up with elements of the comprehensive plan, elements of the housing strategy, elements of the economic development strategy. And at the end of the day, this document, this comprehensive plan, will meet the state's requirements under the comprehensive plan, municipalities planning code, to have the city have a comprehensive approach to all these elements, as well as land use. And Lee, maybe you could fill in a little bit more detail about what's going to be incorporated into the comprehensive plan at the end of the day.
Yeah, Lee, let's talk about housing strategy for a starter. You know, we've been very instrumental and successful in getting federal funding from HUD to basically provide opportunities for our partners, our nonprofit housing partners, to go into neighborhoods and quite frankly take vacant lots and look at how we collect a large portion of abandoned houses that have been left for decay and rot, that often bring down the very value and fabric of a community. We've been successful in demolishing large parcels of vacant properties. and also businesses that are dormant for years, and turning that into an opportunity to market to a big housing corporation. We've been successful in that over the years, particularly focusing on a section of the city near 4th Street, where it was full of abandoned houses and vacant houses, and it was being left for drug dealers and homeless people to continue to reside there and thereby eat at the very fabric and healthiness of and the quality of life in that community. We tore all those houses down and was able to bring in a housing corporation out of Baltimore called Landex Corporation and build 69 new townhomes. Talk about how those types of opportunities and success stories build on the housing strategy we're putting in place for the future and growth of this city.
Okay, well, as part of the comprehensive planning process and the housing strategy development process, we're going to be have not just citywide meetings, but also neighborhood meetings. And in each of those neighborhood meetings, we hope that the neighbors who attend will identify the housing needs that remain in their particular neighborhoods. And you're right, the city has had a lot of success for housing, but there's more to be done, as you know. So we're going to be looking for the neighborhoods to tell us what type of housing they'd like to see in their neighborhood. We're also going to be looking at things like housing in the business district, upper floor residential, that maybe we could make additional progress on. So I'm glad that you mentioned how important the public participation process is, because we're going to be relying on that public participation to identify what further housing goals and objectives the city should pursue over the next 10 to 20 years.
Absolutely. And so why is a housing strategy plan important for a city? Let's talk about that so we can really inspire and urge and encourage all the people that live in this city who really want to see this city grow, and as you say, get their input on what type of housing they would like to see in the city. Why is it so important to do it this way?
It's just as you just stated, it's important to get this input because the population changes over time, and the housing needs of the city in the past are not necessarily the housing needs of the city in the future. And at several of the meetings we've been at, people have pointed out that empty nesters and single owners are looking for places in neighborhoods, not necessarily single-family homes. So does the city have the resources it needs to address the housing needs of not just those folks, but also the people that still want to have a single-family home, and whether it's an attached single-family home or attached, or is there a greater need for multifamily units, apartments in the city, and in what neighborhood? So without the housing development strategy, you're really not going to be able to, one, identify what the housing needs are of all the city residents, and two, to fulfill those needs. I don't think it's any more complicated than that, really.
The other thing, too, to keep in mind is that it's very important with a lot of funders, both nationally at the state level, that they see a comprehensive, coordinated, and recent housing strategy that identifies needs within the community, that are grassroots, that come from the ground up in terms of identified needs and types of housing and where the city wants to go from a policy perspective. They're anxious in just funding projects that are just brought about by a developer with no thought or foresight. And they want this plan to be adopted by the city, by the mayor, by the council, by the community at the grassroots level, so that it shows that there's been some work done and some planning and thought put into this strategy. And also, as you know, Mayor, with the reduced number of federal funds available, state funds available, it is critical to have this identified plan that's very strategic, identifies very specific types of strategies and action steps that you can go to funders and bring in, more importantly, private funds to help address these critical housing strategies that hopefully will be identified and implemented for the next 5 to 10 to 20 years in the city.
Absolutely. I couldn't be more adamant about making sure this plan gets started before I leave, because I've always had a vision of attracting a diverse population, a diverse skill set into the city, because all of that combined generates revenue. And it also attracts businesses. Businesses want to come into your city and know that you have an educated population, a talented population, a skilled population in which they can draw from to hire for their workforce, and also to be able to have a privilege of having that population and that talent and that skill set and knowledge there, so that they can also survive as business people. Businesses really survive because you have a solid housing stock, homeowners, stakeholders that are stable in a neighborhood and have purchasing power that's going to be always around to help keep that business alive. So with that statement and that enthusiasm that I want to make sure is garnered, let's segue that conversation into why we have to have a comprehensive plan that includes high and best land use, and also segue into the need to have an economic development plan. So let's start with land use and how that is important, because Harrisburg is landlocked, as you know. And yet there are still opportunities to grow and build in terms of housing development and also business development. So let's talk about how we segue into the plan and the need to discuss and have bright minds to talk about high and best land use for the city.
You're absolutely right, Mayor. Land use is very important, and yes, the city has a history of land use, but that the historic land use in the city is not necessarily what the city needs now. And again, whether that means more or less land is needed for various land uses, whether that be residential, commercial, industrial, recreational, those are all the kind of things that we need to investigate during the comprehensive planning process. It's a wonderful idea to have more housing, but are you going to have recreational facilities in the vicinity of that housing? You mentioned businesses. And does the city have the educated workforce that the businesses want? Well, the businesses also want to know, does the city have housing stock that will meet the needs of that workforce they're trying to attract? And more young people are looking for recreational facilities and amenities in addition to just housing. So if you're just a single person, or you're a family with young children, and you're looking to move to the city, what can the city do in terms of housing and recreation facilities for you? So the land use question will be, how much land are we using in the city right now for the various uses? How much more do we need for different types of uses? We can't create land, but we have to shift our priorities as to how much land is used for each purpose. And all of that is what we're hoping to identify during the comprehensive plan process. It's very important that you have the right amount of land devoted to the land uses that are most important to your city residents.
Absolutely. And of course, we don't deny the fact that we have a responsibility to attract tourists into our city, those who come in and help support the existing infrastructures and businesses that are there. So that land use strategy and planning also includes not just the residents who really are the most important in this process, but also those who come in on a daily basis and help support and sustain the existence of the city of Harrisburg and its local economy. So let's talk about economic development. And while we know that your firm is not specifically going to do the part on economic development, but you're certainly a key part into bringing all of the three components together in this plan. So let's talk about the importance of economic development, job creation, and sustainment of the existing businesses, and how do we then bring the population inside the city to help increase and maintain and live in the housing stock that we provide the opportunities for businesses to private housing companies to bring in, and then how do we support and sustain the existing businesses and give opportunities for those who want to come in and create new businesses in the city.
Right. I think, Mayor, you're absolutely right. Economic development piece is a crucial portion of this planning process. And as you know, we hope to work very closely with the folks at CREDIC. They have been on your steering committee since day one. They're very familiar, aware of this process. They're going to carry out the economic development piece. We are going to be working very closely with them in terms of the steering committee meetings, in terms of the neighborhood meetings, in terms of meeting with the businesses, to ensure that the comprehensive planning process incorporates all of their strategic development plans and opportunities to make sure that we're addressing all the economic development needs and housing needs and land use needs of the city. It would not be a very relevant planning process if we left that piece off to the side.
And one of the things that's been evident in the meetings we've had thus far, Mayor, is everybody has stressed to us the need to build a tax base to, as you say, create jobs and to meet the needs of modern business. So while we talk about infrastructure and often we think of streets and sidewalks and lighting and that sort of thing, sewer and water lines, the truth of the matter is we need what I'll call the electronic infrastructure that modern businesses require. Are you wired for everything? So that, does the city have all that sort of electronic infrastructure that'll meet the needs of modern businesses, the kind of businesses you're certainly hoping to attract to the city?
Absolutely. It's critical, particularly as we begin to restore our reputation in the world and in the state and in the region, coming off the heels of the worst financial crisis in the history of Harrisburg. I'm honored and proud to have served this city in a way where the debt is defeased and the city's deficit will be balanced. And now a comprehensive plan is in place so that businesses know that the policy of the city is just that we want to have mixed-use housing in neighborhoods. We want to be able to attract the empty nester and the young professional who want to come in and enjoy the ease and the benefit of living in urban cities. And we want to be able to send a loud and clear message to those businesses who want to come in and invest in the city in grandiose ways, that we have the right plan and the right economic policies and housing policies to meet their grandiose ideals to make money. And at the same time, we benefit from that because the city itself needs all the businesses, all the young professionals, and all the great housing stock in it in order to be able for it to survive, to sustain its public safety department, its public works department, its building and housing department, and thereby to continue to provide those direct delivery services back out into the community and the people that we're called to serve. So I'm very excited about the work that's ahead of us. I'm excited of the groundwork that we've laid already, and I'm equally pleased and honored to be able to pass the baton on to the next mayor with the start of this great economic development plan, this great housing strategy plan, and this great land use plan. And I thank you for your talent and your excitement and your desire to want to help the city finally have, which actually would be the first comprehensive plan that the city has had. From as far back as I know, we've always and only had a housing strategy plan. And so we've had other small plans, but they have been fragmented and they haven't been intertwined into a comprehensive plan, nor has there been a steering committee created to involve everybody. So it's a good thing for Harrisburg, and it lets me know that we're on the right track and we're ready to move forward. So again, the excitement is here. People are looking forward to the renaissance that this plan will lead us into. And I won't be a stranger to all of this great groundwork that we've laid, and certainly want to give the people just what they deserve. A bright city full of people walking the streets at nighttime and having to be able to have access to condominiums and the empty nesters in particular who like those high-rise apartment complex and condominiums. We've already started that process under great leaders in the private industry like Ralph Vartan and Dan Deichman. So we're excited about how we can continue to make them the hallmark developers in the city and attract other developers from around the world in the state to say Harrisburg is the greatest place you want to do business, the shining city on top of the hill. So thank you for your planning. Thank you for your talent and your knowledge to bring to this table throughout this plan.
Thank you, Mayor. We share your enthusiasm and your eagerness to get this process started. Thank you very much.
And we look forward to the meeting on October 16th at 7 p.m. at Harrisburg High School, and we hope that there's a large turnout of local residents to help kick this planning process off the way it should be.
Yes. And so you've heard it. What is this comprehensive planning all about? Who's involved? What is the city doing? How does this represent our policies in housing, strategy, economic development, and high and best land use? This is just the beginning, so we want you to come out. We've heard you loud and clear. You want to be involved. So please come out, pack the room, and get involved and talk about your vision for the city, how you see it. Let us be a small city among the great cities that know what it takes to build businesses and to attract businesses and to retain businesses and to build the best kind of housing stock for your children, your family, the empty nesters, the young professionals. And let us be able to compete with our neighboring municipalities and let them be on the run to say that, you know, I can't compete with Harrisburg. They have all the tools that a businessman needs. And so again, join us at John Harris High School, October the 16th at 7 o'clock p.m. Again, at the John Harris High School, known as Harrisburg High, in the auditorium, October 16th at 7 p.m. Thank you.